What's going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning to another episode of Right on Cue Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Logan Chestnut, Small Batch Barbecue. Joining me tonight is my barbecue brother, Mr. Matt Osmond Sr., a.k.a. Blinky from Blinky's Barbecue, a.k.a. Miami was always no, they were not. They were not. They did not deserve it. If they played in a real conference, they'd be 4-12. All right, it's all spade to spade.
ACC's a real conference, man. It is, at least when it comes around basketball time.
I mean, yeah, ACC hands out ribbons, not trophies. All right, it's one of those kind of conferences. Okay, I mean, y'all get the special ribbons.
Well, listen, let's also say that what is it, like 7 out of the past 15 champs have been ACC champs for college football. So there, but yeah, you got Florida State. You have Clemson.
Yeah, the last 15, I think your math skewed there. I'm pretty sure Bama, Georgia, and Ohio State probably won the last 10.
Go look it up. But okay, well then fine. We'll say 8 out of the past 25. How about that?
Sure.
You go back to 01 and or 2000 and you have Miami.
Yeah, that's back when I remember like when I was in college playing basketball. Like I remember like Florida and Miami were like 1-2.
Yeah.
And then Georgia and Bama weren't, that's back when Les Miles was at LSU.
Correct. Back in
I mean LSU. I mean, I forgot LSU. Or LSU's got one in there once in a while, dude. But I'll tell you the real deal this year, and I'm loving their story, is Indiana. Holy crap! Did you watch the Indiana Ohio State game?
I did, and look, I'll just mention this, but obviously I don't have a seat in the committee and all the hoopla we all say. It was all the same takes and shows and whatever. But here's my honest question: how is it that I understand? Indiana won, so they're number 1, okay, sure. And Ohio State went to 2. But then Bama stayed where they're at in the rankings and lost the championship. But conference championships don't matter. They don't really get considered, except you move number 1 to 2, and 9 stayed where they're at with 3 losses. Anyway, I don't want to get into it.
No, I don't know. I don't get me started on Bama, dude. They got the Forrest Gump treatment, man. They
well, they have everybody in their pocket because all hail Bama and yield to them. And if you have a college playoff without them, like we did a couple years ago, it's not for TV or whatever. It's a joke, but anyway, it's fine. Yeah, roll tide, roll, all that hoopla. Look, here's the thing. I don't have a problem.
That's another thing. Alabama. That's how dumb the University of Alabama is. Their mascot's an elephant. That elephant hadn't stepped foot in that town ever. Ever.
I have a Nick Saban problem. I never have a Bama problem. But that's
I'll tell you what. I'm a Kentucky. Kentucky football. Mm-hmm. We don't really have rivals because we just suck. But I always love messing with my Alabama friends. It's like because the last 2 years, I mean, they've been more of a basketball college than they are football. So how you like being a basketball team like Kentucky? And they're like, what? I said, y'all ain't no football team. Yeah, y'all, they have gotten over the Sabanness, and I think they're finally coming back to reality. It's like Belichick with Tom Brady, like Belichick looked so good because he had Tom Brady for all those years.
I mean, look, Belichick is a fantastic coach. He's Hall of Fame, right? But then now you take him, another rung down, and he's got a skirt on the field who's distracting all his guys.
He's got a 23-year-old girl on the sidelines.
I mean, hey, look, when I'm 60, whatever, something happens to Sarah, and I'm like, hey, man, I get it. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, do your job. Why?
I know, dude. I don't get that whole ordeal, but it's such a he's one of those guys like Nick Saban did it right. He went out on top. He will always be regarded as one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick was in the same regard in the pros, and if he should have retired the same year that Brady left, and then he'd have been on the Mount Rushmore of football.
I'll say this: I'll give Belichick 2 more years at the collegiate level to turn it around, figure it out, if you will. Like, I'll be graceful like that. But after 3 years, if he's a head coach and it doesn't do anything, they don't make a playoff, they don't really become this powerhouse, he can't recruit, then his life is
that's all, folks. I know.
Power ending. But
no.
Speaking of going up in flames, like Belichick's career might, our guest has something to do. His products are very combustible.
They are. They fuel the fire, as we say. Absolutely. God, we're so cheesy. Like, dude, this ain't $20, man. It's so bad. No, man. Yeah, I'm so excited for our guest tonight, man. Like you said, he is. Their products are some of the best products out there, especially in the world of barbecue. You know, we all know we're only as good as our field take us. And yeah, man, they play such an integral part of what we do as competition guys, and you do as a restaurant guy and a competition guy. So it's good having these guys out there, and also from the great state of Wisconsin, home of spotted cow and all that damn cold weather. I am so and honestly one of the greatest college football towns in America.
I'll give you that.
Dude, straight up, University of Wisconsin. It's up there. It's one of the greats. It should be an SEC school. How good it is. Yeah. But I'm excited to have him on. Good friend Derek. What's up, buddy? From Smoky Woods Barbecue.
Hey guys, how y'all doing?
We are wonderful. Sometimes it's hard to listen to our intro if we're a sports show, a barbecue show. I mean, we get side. We're passionate about both.
No, I agree with pretty much everything you guys said. I will say I have respect for the ACC. I'm a SMU grad, and we did beat Miami.
Yes, you did. So, absolutely.
Hey, I'd like to see the ACC teams get in and give it a shot here. Hopefully they fare better than we did last year. We got embarrassed by Penn State last year. So
yeah, that was a bit tough for sure. I remember that game.
I mean, dude, that Abdul Carter dude from Penn State though, he was pretty good. He wasn't bad.
Not
bad.
Yeah.
Not bad. No, man, but Derek, thank you so much for coming on, man. I appreciate it. I know you're a busy man with a busy schedule. Out there, kicking ass and taking names, man. How you been, buddy? How you been since the Royal? Staying warm?
Yeah, I tried to thaw out for a while, and then of course winter came here in Wisconsin. So we've got, I don't know, probably 10 or 12 inches of snow on the ground already, and been shoveling out these last week or 10 days. Before I was down in Texas for the week of Thanksgiving, so I did get at least a break there in the action.
A little smidgen of relief. Yeah, the 12 inches of snow in Wisconsin, what do they call that, a dusting?
Yeah,
kids still go to school, guys. They can still go to school in 12 inches.
Absolutely. They have not missed the day yet for snow. So
absolutely. Yeah, so I mean, you're originally a Texas guy, correct? You're from the great state of Texas.
And then, I grew up, Dallas area and kind of East Texas, and then went to school down there. And then my wife dragged me up here 12 years ago or so. So here we are.
He's like Jon Snow going through the Great Wall. He's like, you gotta go to the north. Like how, people who are born in that area, they're just
they're special. Is what they are. Being married to a Texan, they and the family, and when you, as your wife would know, is when you marry into a Texas family, it is they're different people, which is fine. It was my choice.
No, for going from Texas to Wisconsin, was it harder for who had it harder? You going to Wisconsin, or she whenever she comes to visit, or whenever y'all go down to Texas? Because for her, I'm sure 65 degrees is just sweltering heat down there in Texas.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say it was probably the culture shock and the weather shock. That first year I moved up here was one of those polar vortexes, if you've heard of that. And every day was below, zero. And but I've adjusted now. You got to find things to do, like ice fishing or still dragging the smoker out in the winter and getting it rolling. And so I find stuff to do. It's fun.
That's fair.
Was it the shandy?
The shanty.
Yeah, the shanties. I had a buddy live in Michigan for 4 or 5 years, and I've been ice fishing once. It's fun. I mean, it's not a lot to it, but you make it, depending on how big and how nice and what lake you're on or anything like that. But it's a unique way of doing it.
It is. It's a good way. You can drink some spotted cows while you're doing it too, Logan.
So delicious. No, it's so funny. So I met Derek, like I mentioned, at the micro. I was wearing the same shirt, same sweater, sweatshirt as when I met him. And I went over there, and awesome guys. They had a fantastic setup, and they had a bunch of people cooking some great food. And Derek was very generous and nice. They come talk to me for a little bit, and I was like, well, I just so happened Cotton, his sister's from Wisconsin, and she brought a few cases from Spotted Cow for me. And I was like, I thought I was doing something sweet. I'm like, yeah, hey, I'm gonna hook you guys up with some Spotted Cow. Little did I know they had cases and cases of stuff already there. I'm like, well, okay.
But that
mine was
label,
bottled. So
that label at barbecue competitions is like gold, man. I mean, it's like, hey, you got some Spotted Cow. You got like, it's almost auctioned off, 6-pack by 6-pack.
It's a Wisconsin drug deal. Is what I call it. It's the interstate bootlegging. But no, man. Tell the people a little bit about you, about kind of how you kind of fell into this, barbecue. Because you started off just being a barbecue guy, right? You started off just kind of loving barbecue and kind of going from there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Growing up in Texas, I mean, we did some cooking like anybody does, backyard stuff. And then, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, my dad and my uncle started doing one competition a year in Rockwall, Texas. And me and my brother would team up with them and do it. And so I got a little taste of it then. But really, where it really took off for me was when I moved up here 12 years ago. I was just looking for a way to meet people and find a fun thing to do. And I signed up for a small competition in Whitewater, Wisconsin, and rolled in there and got beat badly, but caught the bug. And I was like, this is fun. And so started, like all of us, buying all the gadgets, buying too many smokers, entering other competitions. And next thing you know, doing 10 or 15 different things a year, whether it was competitions or hosting people at my house or at an event at, Packers games or Badgers games. I've done tailgates at those things just to like get people together. And so that's kind of how I caught the bug. And then, fast forward a few years, and my day job at that time is I was practicing law and helping people with transactions, and an opportunity came across my desk to look at a company up north in Wisconsin and see if there was a way to maybe help them recapitalize them and grow the business. And so 5 years ago or so, I did that. And then we kind of launched Smoky Woods, our brand, to retail. And here we are now. And I've been really fortunate along the way to have a lot of help from mentors and from friends in the industry and from a lot of the barbecue guys, ambassadors. We love that stuff. So we love connecting with people and just trying to spread the good word and the good fuels and keeping the fires lit.
Right. So you came from purely, you're talking about you're a lawyer and whatnot, and legal transactional or whatnot. And so you kind of caught the barbecue bug, and you kind of went the different route than most people do. Usually you guys go from backyard barbecue to competition barbecue to having rubs and sauces and whatnot. You said, forget all that. I'm going straight to the source. I'm going to the field. I'm going to the wood. What about that kind of interested you to kind of attack that approach? That was it purely just your mind entrepreneurship kind of leading you that way? You saw something that you could restructure, or was it just the whole kind of community of barbecue that kind of just interested you and you just kind of grabbing to be a part of something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think first and foremost, it started with a passion for barbecue and just loving to cook and loving. You always hear there are no bad days in barbecue when you're out on the trail, and that's true. Like when I would think back to times when I would want to kind of get away or decompress, it was always around a fire and around people and good people. So that was the first part, was the passion. I would say then one of the things I realized is, probably like many of us, we've all used a bunch of different charcoal, a bunch of different wood products, a bunch of different pellets over the years. And one of the things I noticed is there was really not one brand who was offering all of the wood fuels in one brand and making it available people to where they are and where they can get it in their small town or wherever you are, big cities, small towns. So I said, there's an opportunity for us to be a solution here and to make good, high quality products and also have it all exist under one brand. So that's why, Smoky Woods, we've got everything under one brand. We have pellets and multiple different blends, of course. We've got charcoal, lump charcoal. We've got wood chunk, chip, stick. We're also launching a pizza stick now for the folks out there who like to do the pizza cooking, which I love to do that. We got some other brands and fuels, and that's what we want to be. Is there's a lot of guys out there who are doing great rubs, great sauces. But there aren't as many who are kind of addressing the wood fuels problem. There are good ones out there for sure, but we felt there's a unique space for us to really hit it across all the fuels under one brand and build a following and work with people we like and trust and have fun. So that's what we're doing.
No, I mean, absolutely. And like you said, I mean, you didn't invent the space, but you saw an opening in the space and just trying to, fill that. I mean, vertical integration from all the fuel sources. And then you're right, there's not many people. I mean, there's a lot of charcoal companies. There's some people who kind of venture into both, but no one offers the full shebang like you guys do. What was kind of the hardest thing? So like, did you jump straight from like law to this kind of organization? What was kind of like the biggest growing pains? Kind of learning the market, or kind of navigating sourcing stuff, or what's one of the hardest things when you kind of jumped into the market?
Yeah, great question. So I didn't jump straight when I first invested in this company and started doing this. I was still practicing law full time. Since that time, I've transitioned to doing this. Plus, I do similar things with some other businesses. So I help invest in real estate and other private equity or operating businesses with some other make similar investments available to other people who want to kind of get into that space. But I would say, like, in thinking about the learning curve and the growth curve with what we're doing at Smokey Woods, I mean, you hit on a couple of them. Supply, building good, strong supplier relationships. I mean, it's kind of simple in a way. We have to get two things. We have to get raw materials, which is for us wood, and packaging. So bags or boxes, depending on what we're packaging in. But when you're growing as much as we've grown and you're selling tens or hundreds of thousands of those units a year, you need to make sure you got enough wood in the yard and that you've got enough bags in supply there to fill them. So we've done a good job the last couple of years of expanding and building out our supplier relationships. We've also started to kind of go direct to the source. I mentioned that, or maybe I haven't mentioned, but everything we do is we procure here in the United States. And so on the wood side, we can do that through loggers who are going out and they're logging a whole section of woods, and we're having them pull aside species specific stuff for us, post oak or apple or pecan. But we can also directly sort of engage people and say, hey, we found a plantation that's got 2,000 mesquite trees, and start to log that directly ourselves. So we've done some of both, and we're working on both of those right now to really further expand on the supply side. And on the bag side, same thing is true. Like we've got great partners who we love working with, but sometimes if we hit a snag with delivery schedules, then we're going to go out and build some additional relationships so that we can have product ready for people when they're looking to buy it. So those have been some growing things. We're in a very small town in northern Wisconsin. It's a town called Crivets, Wisconsin, and we're really proud to be there because we provide a lot of good, stable jobs in a community that needs good, stable jobs in manufacturing. And we've grown from when I first got involved here. We had about 7 or 8 employees. We now have 35 employees in Crivets. Awesome. So it's awesome. It's something we take very seriously every day, that we get to provide 35 different households with income and a job and a way of life. So we're continuing to do that, and we're constantly looking to add to the team and continue to build so that we can continue to grow, because people have been awesome in supporting us and helping us get the name out there and grow these last couple of years.
How have you seen your SKUs kind of trend in sales? Like, obviously, because there's different fuel sources, all from the same base, but pellets versus splits versus charcoal versus, do you see, because of sales and because of what retail box stores etc are ordering, do you see a big trend for seasonality? Or if an influencer is really hitting a pellet cooker hard for this season or something like that, do you think that collectively or individually, they all kind of move the needle type. How do you see that in your sales?
Great question. So actually it's perfectly timed too, because I wouldn't have believed this until the last 2 Novembers, but November is by far the biggest retail sales month that we're seeing throughout the year. And it makes sense to us, like in a way, but a lot of people would think barbecue competition guys would think maybe the summer months, but the November with people getting ready for Thanksgiving and Christmas cooks and for stocking stuffers and under the tree, it is by far the biggest retail month. November is, and December is also a very strong month. So we see some good seasonality then. I would say the thing that has surprised us the last couple of years has been the demand for the stick wood. So our stick wood is 8-inch by 3x3 splits about this big. A lot of people use them, as you'd expect, in an offset smoker. But I think the other thing we're seeing is a lot of people, there's just been a movement in live fire cooking these last couple of years. And I think we all know that. You hear about it with the open fire cook they do in Hondo every year, Al Fragoni, but also, guys like Brio and the Alpha Pizza Oven and even Solo and so many others in the Santa Maria style grills that are out there. That is a growing faction of the market where people are needing more and more of that wood fuel. So you're seeing charcoal and splits primarily are what people are cooking with in those. And so that's why we made the decision earlier this year to launch the pizza stick as a 1-inch instead of the 3-inch width of that, because a lot of people are using that stuff in the same cookers and in those pizza ovens, of course. Pellet sales continue to be strong. I think people want a quality product, but they also want a product that's a value. And I think we try to strike that balance of both. We've got a high quality product, but you can also get 2 20-pound bags of it for $25 at Ace. And people find that to be a good value. And I get it, because I know there's a lot of more competition in the pellet fuel market than there is in some of the other ones that we talked about. But we're committed to maintaining a consistently high quality product and having it be something that people can afford to fill up in their hopper, as I saw Smoking Pastor on here's doing right now.
Absolutely, man. That dude burns through some wood. I guarantee it.
Does. Absolutely does.
1,000 turkeys for Thanksgiving, man. That man's a saint. He is a saint. But no, man. Like, so I'm curious. Like I said, you're our first kind of wood guy, producer, and so I have always been kind of curious. So, is it like talk about supply chain? You have obviously, I would think like the post oak and maple, or post oak and hickory and stuff like that. I mean, there's a huge supply of it. But when it comes to like species, like specific species, is there certain species that you have a harder time, pertaining and getting enough supply of versus others, or is it pretty at this point easier? Is it like start like from the beginning? Was it harder to find enough pecan? It's pecan, Josh Hess, not pecan.
Well, it's only pecan when it's in a pie. Every time else it's pecan, but it's pecan pie, just for the record.
Once again, you're incorrect, sir. But have you run into any of those issues? I'm just curious. It'd be a dumb question, but I'm always kind of a question. Curious.
No. I think a lot of it depends on where you are geographically. We're in northern Wisconsin, so for us, it's easier to come by, white oak, hickory, cherry. A lot of people would think apple, because there are a lot of apple orchards here, but actually we need the bigger apple so that we can chunk it and make stick out of it. And so we go to a couple of different areas of the country to get that larger apple. So I would say apple's one where we have to really, keep good relationships there. The other is, the Texas wood. So, post oak and mesquite, a little bit of pecan. You can get pecan in other areas too, but post oak and mesquite, just because there's a very high demand for them. And I think that's a lot of people at home, backyard cooks, see people like Aaron Franklin and Miss Tootsie, cooking with that product, with that species. And they're like, I need to have that, because that's what they're using down there in Texas. And so we sell a lot of post oak stick, believe it or not. And so we those post oak and mesquite are things that we want to always keep in there. So if there are people out there listening, actually, and we're always willing to take in leads. And if you're like, hey, I know there's 100 acres of pecan here or mesquite here, and people because sometimes the landowners just want that stuff cleared and they want it out of there because they want to hunt that land or whatever they want to do with it. So we'd love to take in leads like that, and we can put our creative juices to work and see if we can go help people out, and it'll help us out at the same time because we're getting more wood and drying it and putting it in bags for people for their cooks.
Yeah. So you hear that? If you got 100 acres of pure pecan wood, he will clear your land for free right there.
And might even pay you a nickel.
Yeah. No, I'm kidding. Well, maybe not. But no, I was always kind of curious about that. I mean, that's funny you say the mesquite and post oak. I mean, being from Texas, us up here, me and Matt are both from Tennessee, close to the Nashville area. I mean, mesquite wood is not really a thing up here for us. Like, it's not something we're familiar with, and it's a very distinct smelling wood. Being from Texas, is that kind of near and dear to your heart? Down in Texas, I feel like they live, breathe, and burn purely mesquite wood.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I think of mesquite wood, I think a lot of the Tex-Mex joints that cook over really hot mesquite with chicken and fajitas, and I think you get a lot of people who use it for that. When I use mesquite, it's always for a really, really hot fire. So like a quick sear on a steak or grilled chicken that I know I'm going to go in to take it into fajitas. That's where a lot of people, and I think that's where a lot of the uses in the restaurant industry. And then I must be people at home too using it for that application because we sell a lot of mesquite.
It's of all what I would group of common varietal woods. If I'm not mistaken, mesquite is very high on a Jenga scale, almost, dare I say, the highest as a hardwood, way more obviously than your hickories and your fruits and other type like that. But it ranks pretty high up there, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, we're selling a lot of it, people using a lot of it, and we blend it as well with some of our chip and pellet products. So it's a good wood. I mean, I think to your point, I think you need to know how to use it. It does. It has some creosote in it that burns out of there, and you can have an acrid smoke or flavor to it if you're not burning it hot. And if it's not already kiln dried, one of the things about all our products is they're kiln dried, they're shelf stable. We actually clear USDA and customs testing regularly because we ship products internationally to customers in all Italy, Australia, all sorts of places around the world. So something we're proud of because you have to take it through a different process to reach those levels of certification and approval. And we do that with the mesquite, and it burns good and hot and fast for the people who like to high heat sears at home.
I got you.
How has that part been for you guys with, governmental tariffs and imports and transportation and how much shipping has got? And I mean, that's another side of the business that, isn't so glamorous. And, it's a text message, it's an email, it's a report. How have you guys kind of, waded into those things and braved the storm, if you will?
Yeah, fortunately for us, we have been unaffected by them because we buy everything in the U.S. Now that we are seeing it within the supply chain or with some of our partners, who are hesitant or where shipping containers are in the middle of the ocean. We've seen that actually quite a bit where products are in the middle of the ocean on a shipping container for weeks or months longer than they should be, just with disruptions in supply chain. We've all read about that when they close a canal or when something happens. It has real impact on companies like us and on ultimately the consumer on how long it takes to get to the product. So, and we hear it from some of our partners who have in other parts of the country or in the world in other countries. We've had some of our friends who buy products from us in Australia. They actually came all the way to Crivets this year. They were here for a U.S. trip, and they made their way up to Crivets, and we got to spend some time with them. And they've been impacted by it because so much of what they do is trade with other countries and getting products from other countries you're on island in the middle, of the world when you're in Australia. So you got to be good about doing those sorts of things. So fortunately for us so far, we have not been impacted that, other than just sort of the general economy and the way it affects us all with pricing and with disruptions and delays.
Yeah, I always wondered about that because there's a lot of kind of newer to the scene, kind of charcoal and wood companies that are doing that. Acadia, is it Acadia? Am I saying that right, Matt?
Acacia.
That African tree or hardwood or whatnot. I always wondered if that would run into that kind of stuff whenever, with the tariffs and stuff like that. That's I don't know.
It might. Yeah, and I mean, a lot of charcoal is obviously there are some charcoal manufacturers here in the U.S., but there are a lot more of them in Mexico and in South America and Central America, and I know those products get impacted from time to time.
Yeah. So a lot of our listeners, like I said, we do have a large competition following, but also for our listeners that aren't, they're just everyday backyard heroes. Being a wood expert, because I'll say you're my wood expert. What would you kind of break down of the species that you have? Like, where would you go from like the heaviest smoke flavor to the lightest smoke flavor for those backyard cooks, kind of to get people? Well, that's one thing when I got into cooking and to a level that I'm at, realizing that smoke is essentially a spice. It's a seasoning that you put on your meat. It's not only a fuel, but it's also kind of a spice or a flavor profile you put on your meat. Where would you kind of rank, of say from hickory all the way down to what would you say the softest would be? What, cherry or pecan or something like that?
Probably an apple. I think we talked about mesquite for a while earlier, so I'll put it on an island because it is sort of a unique animal all to itself. I think just think of heavy, dense hardwoods. Hickory, you mentioned, oak, cherry, I'm going to put a level below them, but I'm going to put close to them because cherry has a wonderful flavor. It can have a wonderful color to it too, but it also, if you've cooked competition with cherry, you can also get a really dark color with it if it gets too much of that cherry smoke on it. So it's one of those that can have more of a color impact than some of the other ones. I kind of medium tier, I'd put pecan. I cook a lot with pecan. And I didn't grow up cooking with pecan. It was more mesquite and post oak in Texas, but I grew to really like it because I think it's versatile. I think it's kind of a mix. It is essentially a mix between a hardwood, as you would think of it, and as one of the fruit woods. Very versatile. So I love cooking with that. It gives a great color too when you're cooking with that. And then I think post oak as a Texas wood, going to be very similar to a white wood, to a white oak, or to a hickory. But you're going to get a little bit of a different. It's a different kind of density to that post oak than you get with like a traditional white oak or a red oak, which is why so many people like to cook with that wood in Texas, and it has that following. Apple, I would certainly put, and maple very low on the kind of amount of smoke they're going to impart, the amount of color they're going to impart. That's why apples are really popular, and it's great in a blend. So is maple, because a lot of people can use that whether they're doing chicken or fish or veggies, things like that you cook every day, as opposed to with the couple times a week for normal people who aren't insane like us, who the hobbies we have. But like if they're just wanting to do something at home, that's why blends are really well received in the marketplace, because they know they can pour that blend in, whether it's into their Weber with chips or whether it's with the pellet blends, and get a good consistent smoke, but not overpower it for their family. I think we covered most of them there. I mean, that's oak, hickory, cherry, pecan, post oak, maple, apple. That's and then we source alderwood, which is another unique one out of the Pacific Northwest. A lot of people like it for fish, salmon, or sometimes when they're doing other like cheese smoke. So it's another like an apple that's going to be very low on the smoke content if you'd like to do any smoking of cheeses or just really
Cold smoking.
Yeah, it's a cold smoking. Yep, exactly. So that's another species that we that's more popular, kind of Seattle, Washington. We also sell a lot of it in Canada, kind of Western Canada.
Where do you see, or do you get questions? Let's call it the micro varietal, right? Like the grapevine or the olive, or any type, sugar plum and type thing. Like I've seen, I think I still have a bag of, call it chips of olive wood. Early on, I was like, oh, it's gonna be great for Sam. I put like a handful of it in there, and it was way too olivey. Like it's a learning experience, But I just remember I was like, you could cook over olive wood. Like, why couldn't you? Olive trees and this and the. But do you guys have any demand? Do you see that anywhere in the metrics other than hey, do you have type email?
Yeah, I mean, we every once in a while we'll get a request like that for some of those specialty woods, as I would refer to them. We haven't pursued that because one, they're hard to procure, and we're still going to process them in the same way, and you're going to have a lot less of those to distribute through the marketplace. And there are a couple shops out there who are doing just those kind of specialty varietals. So I'm sort of like, hey, you guys are doing it well and making it available to the people who want it. Like, keep at it. What we are experimenting and doing more of now, though, is with some of the like bourbon barrel or wine barrel staves. That you'll see some things coming out in the marketplace related to those. We've done a couple of those type of products, smaller runs, limited runs to kind of test the market here in Wisconsin with some friends of ours who own distilleries here. We've also done some of that for private label partners. I think you'll see more and more of that over time is my expectation, because I do think it's an interesting thing when you open that bag and you can smell that bourbon. And I mean, look around, I'm kind of a fan of bourbon here myself, so and I think it like we were talking about earlier about how logging can solve problems for the landowner and a solution for us. Similar for these distilleries, they have thousands and thousands of barrels, and so there's an opportunity there to process that and make it sustainable by putting it in a bag where people can go buy it instead of them just burning it up, which is one of the things we've learned in this industry is what we're doing. People may say, oh, well, it's not really sustainable because you're just taking a product that's just going to get burnt up. Well, it really is, though, because otherwise they're just piling these things up in the yard and setting them on fire. And this is creating jobs. This is creating commerce. This is creating something that guys like us want to use and loyalty, brand loyalty. So it does something beyond just help out the landowner or create revenue for our company. It creates this other kind of micro commerce thing that's going on in between what would happen if we weren't doing it and if other brands like us weren't doing it.
So what I'm hearing is you're not dipping into the baseball bat market. Is that you're going to stay away from that one?
Yeah, we haven't dipped into that yet, but you never know.
Okay, fair enough.
You got the market cornered there, I think. I don't know.
I mean, I'm just saying some people, think that. Anyway,
I know, but I'm glad you brought up the bourbon barrel. Being a native Kentuckian myself, from the state of Kentucky, we have more bourbon barrels than we do people in the state, and that's actually a fact. There's more bourbon barrels in Kentucky than there is residents. And we've been doing, using bourbon barrel shavings and bourbon barrel because there was such a huge bourbon boom. I mean, me and you both bit into it hard, and I'm a card carrying member myself. Do you see that as more of a flash in the pan? Because kind of the bourbon boom is kind of busted, or the floor is kind of dropping. If you've seen kind of, at least in the bourbon market, there's such a huge expansion, and now the demand is died down some. Do you think that's more of a flash in the pan or something that's kind of like a cool experiment? Or do you think it's here to kind of stay, or does it add? Because I've done a lot of bourbon wood smoking, and I honestly haven't had it to a point where I'm like, yeah, I can really, it really has added a different level or layer of flavor for me.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool product and branding opportunity, especially like this time of year. Think about it. Like if dad, I mean, guys like us, we're probably like, yeah, we kind of know what we like and what we want to use. But like, hey, if you've got the dad or the mom who cooks a couple times a year, they're getting ready for a big turkey cook or a big prime rib roast cook, and they can get a cool co-branded bourbon barrel chunk and they're throwing that in. That's kind of a cool thing. And maybe it's you're getting them a bag of that and a bottle of the bourbon, right? And say like, hey, enjoy this while you're having. I think there's something cool about that, about the element of that. I also do think it does smell really good. Not only in the bag, it smells good burning.
For sure.
And so it adds that additional like element to the cook. So I think it's also been a little bit of an underserved market, at least in the wood fuels. When you think about chunk and chip over the years, and bourbon or non-bourbon, if it's in Tennessee, for example, where you guys are, there's really only one or two major brands out there who have capitalized on that. So I do think there's probably some room to see some others enter that marketplace, and I think we will, is my guess. I mean, I know that we'll do some things in that space, and I'm assuming others will too.
Well, and as much of for bourbon, I think wine as well, right? Like the Burgundy blend, and this time, like that aspect, because and across all beverages, you've got beers that are finished in bourbon barrels, and vice versa. Like the fact for it to not have a space and a culinary cooking process, I think is ridiculous to say. How much flavor impart it does, in my opinion, I found more flavor over high heat grilling rather than lower temp smoking for the 2 handfuls of times that I've used that type products.
I mean, don't get me wrong, dude. Like I've been I've bitten the bug myself. It's anything that had bourbon in it for ever there, I was buying just because A, I'm a Kentucky guy and it's just kind of in my blood, but B, it's just it's cool. As a guy, it's like cool, bourbon flavored rubs and bourbon beers and stuff like that. And I don't know, it's just been around in this area for so long. It's just like, but like you said, I mean, for a commercial standpoint and kind of like a novelty, not a novelty, I don't know if that's a good term, but novelty kind of thing for marketing. Yeah, it's a great kind of source for you, exactly like you said, as a gift, like it's something like for Christmas, a stocking stuffer or something like that. Like, hey, my dad likes whiskey, my dad likes bourbon. What can I get him? Here's some bourbon barrel chunks that you can throw on the fire or throw on the smoker, and here's a bottle to go with it. I think it's a fantastic marketing from aspect or marketing scheme from that aspect. But I was saying it's purely like as a cook and a barbecue guy, like all of us are. I don't think it actually imbues the bourbony kind of flavor into the meats itself as much as we may think, as strong as some of those staves are. But
I think one of the things, you both said it, and Matt, I tend to agree. I think sometimes you get more impactful flavor over a high heat situation than you do over low and slow. You're still going to get it either way, but I think that's why a lot of times you'll see people basting with rosemary or thyme at the end of a cook, right? Because you're going to take that on in those shorter stints. Then we all know meat has a smoke window and it closes after a certain period of time, and you're not taking on any more flavor at that point. And so, I've been a little surprised that there hasn't been more demand for kind of some of the other like wine barrel stave wood products yet, but that's something we're kicking around and exploring and experimenting with as well.
How do you see your sales makeup? Is it really all primarily retail? Do you guys see a growing trend for commercial use for grilling charcoal restaurants, except because I think it's a big faux pas, but let's say most larger set barbecue joints, right? Your Iowa Smoky D's, your Jim and Nick's, your
Terry Black.
Yeah. Okay. Well, no, I wouldn't say Terry Black. I don't think I'm going to exclude all craft barbecue from this and most of Texas from what I'm about to say. Everywhere else, most barbecue joints are cooking on Old Hickory, Southern Prides, these larger rotisserie or big chamber cookers. And they're not using, yes, they're using wood as part of their smoke, but they're using an alternative fuel source. Typically it's propane afterwards, or some natural gas, whatever, for a heat source. They're getting smoke on it, and then they're not shoveling coals. Not these big boys, that run X amount of $1 million a year, because the cookers don't really perform that way, or they don't have to, or it's a way to mitigate costs, etc. But do you see a growing and international type restaurants where they're grilling over charcoal and things like that? Like, have you guys seen orders or your products trending towards the commercial side more?
Yeah, great question. I'm going to talk about a couple things on this topic. One, I do agree. Like, if we exclude the sort of low and slow Texas hill country type cooking, like you're talking about, where they are doing, where wood is the primary fuel source.
Most of them are in 1,000 gallons offset.
Yeah. So let's exclude that and thinking more of the Old Hickory, the Southern Prides, the Oilers, some of the M&M units that are out there. And by the way, we've had the opportunity to meet with all those folks at their facilities over the last few years. They're all awesome people to see, like, is there an opportunity for us and them? And I think there is. One of the ways we're trying to tap into that is we just got, we're in the process right now of getting loaded into Cisco's homegrown program they have here in the upper Midwest. And they'll have similar programs, I think, in other parts of the country. But basically, it's, those restaurants who want to put on their menu that they're procuring from local suppliers. We can say, if you're in Chicago or you're in Wisconsin or Michigan or Indiana, like, hey, we're buying our products from 100 miles from here, that sort of thing, which is cool. So we are going to tap into it that way. We also do and are growing to do more and more on the true B2B side. So selling bulk pellets, chip, chunk, stick to not just kind of restaurants, or food truck or caterers, a lot of guys we know, right, who are doing the barbecue thing, but even other companies. Think about companies, large commercial food companies who are smoking cheese, or who are smoking beef sticks, or who are smoking other products, other food products that are going to be packaged but have a level of smoke to them in that process. We're starting to sell through to those now too, and build relationships with them. And I think there will be some cool co-branding opportunities for us where, like, I'll just make up a name, Joe's Pizza cooked with Smoky Woods, right? So, like, we want to do more of those things where people know, like, hey, that's unique. It's actually using another product. Here's an example. Like, you guys have probably heard of the Low and Slow barbecue chips out of Dallas. That are barbecue chip. They're the potato chips that are actually smoked and not liquid.
Yeah, correct.
We've done stuff with them, and they've used some of our hickory chips to smoke their potato chips. So cool stuff like that. Partnerships. We love stuff like that. And then I do think on the larger question you asked, we are getting international and domestically here. We actually have a large customer out of Canada who's buying just lots of chips, but like a finer chip product that's even in the bags that we put out to retail, because they need that finer chip product for this large smoking process that they take it under. So we're actually changing a bit of our production process to meet that need, so that we can send them bulk packaging. Like, so think of like a big super sack is what we call it in the industry, full of chips that they're going to use. And they care less about the brand. They care more about the product specifications, meeting their needs. Same thing though on charcoal. Like we've got, it's pretty cool. We have a few different restaurants, here and in like Illinois area that have been nominated for James Beard Awards that are using our products in different areas of their kitchen, or they've done some pretty cool creative cooks, some of these culinary competitions that they do against other restaurants where they're using our products and incorporating that into their cooking and sort of co-branding with it. Anything like that, where, because this is probably more than you asked for, but our 10-year target as a company is to be known as the official wood of the competition and culinary world. So basically, if you are a competitor or you are somebody who really cares about what they're eating, like we would think of in the culinary world, and the sources and the products they're buying, to whether it's at home or in a kitchen, we want them to think of us first. That's our goal. And so the more ways we can reach people, competitors and consumers, to make them understand that we care about the products we're making, and we care so much that we take it through rigorous processes, and we're working closely with on the supply side too, to make sure that we get a good product that hasn't been sprayed with pesticides and things like that. We think that sets us apart from some of a lot of the competition out there. So hopefully, that was a roundabout way of answering.
Yeah, well, I know I can think of at least one sanctioning body that should be very open to sponsorships. Right now, at least one comes to mind. But
well, I'm glad you mentioned the pesticides, because that leads to my next question. And being, as a layperson, not in the industry per se, you see, when it comes to, you'll see on the bags, and I'm sure somewhere on your bags, it says food grade versus, fuel or non-food grade. Like, what makes wood, pellets, anything like that food grade versus, just purely for fuel?
Yep. So we're sourcing it. It starts first with where are we sourcing it? We're sourcing it from known suppliers, known loggers, and we know their process. We physically go see it. So when we talk about to the places, me or Ed, our CEO in Crivets, we've been to the places we talk about where this wood comes from and see the process. So that's step one for us, and understanding how is the product treated before it got to us. Step two in the process is we're getting it up to Crivets, Wisconsin, where we process it. And then we're taking it through after we cut it, and we're kiln drying it at 165 degrees for at least 2 hours to ensure that it reaches a certain level of moisture internal content, so that it's shelf stable, meaning it's not going to grow mold or mildew when it's in the bag for too long, or if it gets air in there, it's not going to create other critters or pests, because it's got moisture environment that they crave.
Transportation laws and legality.
Exactly. And we're through that process. Then we have, we're set up with USDA, where they come out to our facility unannounced, and they inspect what we're doing, and we clear those, and always have. And then beyond that, there's an extra level of scrutiny when you go internationally to clearing customs, and we've been set up and doing that for years now, all successfully, we've never had an issue on that front. And so we can say we are food grade and shelf stable because we are. And by comparison, like, if you've got product that's we all know, you throw it in there and it's white smoking because it's burning through the moisture that's in the log. That's not something you want when you cook. You want the opposite of that. And so, those are some of the examples of what we're doing to get to be able to say that, and to be able to be that product for people that they know and trust, and whether it's in there. Now, you have to do your part too. It means you can't bring it home and then leave the bag opened outside in the rain and be like, it got wet. But like, when it gets to you, it's a product ready to use. And we moisture test every single batch that comes out through our drying process. So we know where in multiple different kind of ways we test it. So we know where it's coming out when it comes out.
Do you have so when you talk about moisture content, I mean, is that kind of a trade secret as far as the moisture level that you kind of try to get to, or is it does certain people have, like, can you do different batches to different humidity levels? Because I'm sure different people will have different requests as far as that, or do you do like an industry standard? This is kind of the moisture level we're going towards.
Yeah, I mean, we generally know, all of our products are going to be somewhere between a 4 to a 10% moisture level. Most of them tend to be 4 to 6.5 or 7. Now, that is by no means a guarantee. So if somebody goes home and tests theirs and they're like, hey, mine's an 8, I said most. So, but that's where we strive to be with everything that we pull out of there. And like I said, we keep logs on all this stuff, and we know which batches came out and at what moisture level. And so yeah, and I don't know if it's industry standard. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. We just know that that's what works, and that's what allows it to perform for people when they get it into their place.
I got you. I've always been curious about that. I didn't know like certain like percentage wise, because I've heard, being on the competition side of things, I mean, you hear some wild and crazy ass, things. The guys like, I gotta have it this.
Well, and even on the culinary side, I've read excerpts from books and talked to people enough to where, for this meat or cut or whatever, I actually want a 22% moisture, post soak something, which for a lot of people would be, that's pretty green. And for whatever their rhyme and reason and their, cooking process, that's what they want. And that's at least what they tell people. Hey, this is part of what makes this finished product what it is. They want the opposite way rather than, all the way dried, etc. From their culinary perspective, if you will.
I've talked to a couple people who are pit makers who think that you don't want a fully green wood, but they also don't want a fully dried wood. They've said, I don't claim to understand the rationale for why, because I think you still have to cook through the moisture until you're going to get to the clean smoke that we all want anyways. And so unless for some reason they're wanting to impart, and maybe they are for a period of time, what we would consider dirty smoke. And maybe there's a reason to do that, but I've had a couple of those conversations, but I think by and large, like if you're putting a chunk or a log or a chip in there and it's catching relatively quickly and burning cleanly, like that's what we want.
Yeah. Well, and you got guys like, I know because I've been around him, talked to him, and he's said it enough times, like Heath. Heath is on record numerous times. His Memphis in May, his big cooks, his whatever, he will only, and has for a long time, put a center cut of, I think Heath uses some cherry and hickory, from wherever he gets it, because he's so meticulous that he doesn't want any bark, any possibility. He wants to rule out every step of his cook process to get the purest result, if you will.
Yeah.
And yes, we've all heard of that and this and that. And then you got some people who are just throwing stumps, in there.
I've been on both sides of that spectrum right there, man. I the earlier days I was chunking tree woods. I didn't care what species is that. I don't know, pine. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the more you learn, knowledge is power, as they say. But I kind of wanted to transition. You brought it up earlier, and I think it's one of the most exciting things in barbecue, or the future of barbecue, is what you said, like was down in Hondo, the live fire
open fire.
Open fire. My apologies. Open fire. Thank you, Miami. Open fire competitions and stuff like that. I mean, I'm sure you're like me and Matt. We're closeted pyromaniacs. We love burning things and cooking things over an open fire. Take off your wood hat as a purely competition, and barbecue guy. What is your thoughts on that? Like, and how they do it, and kind of the barbaric, kind of primitive cooking is essentially what I want to call it. But where do you kind of stand on that? Does that sound like, is that exciting? Do you like watching that kind of stuff, or what's kind of your opinions on the newer trend?
Yeah, I mean, I love it, actually. I think any innovation, and this is by no means, I'm not knocking any of the.
No, we love all competition cooking.
We're talking
a niche cook right here. So
yeah,
just
I think any sort of innovation and creativity or are awesome, and some of this is it really innovation or creative when it's doing something that's been done for. There's that bottle empty right there. Bottoms up. But is it really innovative or creative if we're doing the same thing the cavemen were doing? And I agree with that a lot. And I think there's a lot of renewed interest in people in general of like simplifying what they're eating and how they're eating. And I like that. I love this stuff, to be honest with you, because as much as I also love the competition side, I think you tend to have a lot of sort of regression to the mean in a competition environment where everybody starts to do the same thing. Now, there are subtle differences, and I get it, and I respect the hell out of everybody on the competition circuit. But it's cool to be able to see people cook over different fires, different apparatus in a different way with different meats. And it makes a statement. Like we always will host, if we're here for Christmas, we always host. And so like we just bought a couple of massive tomahawk ribeyes, and I love tomahawk ribeyes, but the reason you buy those is because it's a cool piece.
Yeah.
Showcase what you're doing. It's a showpiece.
The money, but it's really cool to look at.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it's going to taste as good as a ribeye does, but it's going to look a whole hell of a lot cooler, and it's going to be more fun to cook, and people will be more engaged around that. And so, I think I love all this stuff. I didn't get a chance this year to go to Hondo because I was there freezing.
Hanging out with me. I'm glad you be where you were, man.
Exactly. Somehow my dad got to draw the straw to go down to Hondo, so good for him and all the guys who were down there. But we'll be down there next year, and I'm excited to see that. And I know that I believe the World Food Championships, they're going to have a live fire kind of open fire element to it. I know that
Memphis in May announced.
Memphis in May is going to have it. I think Brad and Brooke, with what they do down in January down at the shed, they're going to have. They already do have, I think, an open fire component. They're going to keep that rolling. So like you're seeing more and more of that, and I think that's awesome. So I'm all for it.
So I mean, on this podcast, like I said, we've talked to tons and tons and tons of people, and one of the questions I always ask our guests is, what is one thing, because the not so secret problem when it comes to KCBS or CBA or anything like that is the lack of involvement with the population. Like crowd involvement is a huge problem when it comes to public interest in competition sports, because without sponsorships and without public interest into any sports, it's hard to do fundraising and hard for a lot of different reasons we don't need to go into. And I think that this live fire cooking, which is what caught on, I think every association needs to have that in their arsenal, have that weapon in their arsenal, because that in and of itself is all about public engagement.
Yeah, I mean, at the core, it's cooking without a lid. To your point.
Yeah, I mean, you can't have
be in a trailer. Yeah, you can't have your pit closed. You can't. Just by the nature of its practice, it is open, like it is out there.
Yeah. But I think that'll solve some of the problems, though, because I mean, as men, as guys, and we. If they say, hey, there's a barbecue competition, and I go down there and it's a bunch of guys like us in trailers, and you see nothing except for some smokes on a rig, which I mean, I look like MTV Cribs walking around looking at all the different cool trailers and smokers. I'm like, hey, what's going on here? But as far as like Joe Schmo public, I totally understand. Like, it's kind of boring sometimes when you go to these pro competitions. But if you add a live fire attribute or live fire category to and make them a requirement of the GC, I think that will totally regenerate the interest from the public that we've been missing for years in the competition scene. I kind of like went on a little pedestal there, but what is kind of your opinion on that kind of, because you've come from both the competitive side of it and the Joe Schmo public, and as a you sponsored some of the events as well, so you're in thin air or rare air, as we say, to kind of have the perspective.
Yeah, no, it's funny you bring this up. The coincidences and timing is great, because I just had a conversation last week, and I'll go ahead and tease this to everybody, because I've already mentioned at least to one guy who's hanging out here, smoking pasture. I got an opportunity for us to do a public facing live fire sort of event in Milwaukee at Harley Davidson's headquarters next summer, and we're going to do that. And I was talking with the organizers, and they were like, how do we make this as like engaging with the public as we possibly can? And they were sort of like, a lot of people do barbecue competitions. Should we do a barbecue competition? And I was sort of like, no, like I think we shouldn't. And I think what we should do is we should invite some people who know how to cook, who have maybe companies or brands, or they're cooking for a good purpose, like Jordan is, and other people. And I said, and I think we should have everybody set up there, and we should have people doing different things where it's very engaging, demos, doing sort of instructionals there. Some of the stuff we tried to do this year at the Royal, and we did some of that, and some of it went really well. And then the weather, dictated otherwise at certain times of the weekend. But it's got to be, and if they want to say, hey, let's do a People's Choice as part of that, great, because that's another way to engage with the public. But I agree with you. I think that, and I love, this was our 5th year as the presenting sponsor, one of the presenting sponsors of the American Royal World Series of Barbecue. We love it. We'll continue to do it. But finding ways, some of my feedback to them when I did the post-event surveys, like how do we better engage any of us as brands, as vendors with the public, and how does the public get what they want out of this too, which is, nobody has fun when you walk around and there's 700 teams there, but everybody's in their trailer, or it's not open to the public. Finding ways, even if we get 50 of those teams to step up. And I think a lot of people do that. And a lot of people say, hey, I'll be part of the Royal Tours, or I'll be part of the Party of the Year tour. Mm-hmm. But like finding events where truly people can walk in. This year we flipped our layout at the Royal to make it like as open to the public as possible. Because one of the things we realized was last year we felt like we were sort of blocking off people from coming through. And what we wanted is basically a bar with music and lights and bunch of grills going, so where people are like, oh, I wonder what's going on over there, so that it just draws people in, gives people a chance to try a sample, watch a demo, pick up a product, whatever, like getting people as part of that. So I agree with you. I think the open fire is more conducive to that for all the reasons you already talked about. And the more of that we can do, or the more of we can just have people sharing knowledge, and which people are in this community are great about doing. That's why we all for years have watched guys like Malcolm Reed and Aaron Franklin and Heath Riles and do their thing, is because they're spreading the knowledge online. But having that like in-person feel, an element to it where you can learn and meet somebody and shake their hand and watch what they're doing. Like I myself am a kinesthetic learner, which means you learn best by not just by watching or listening, but by doing. Mm-hmm. And like that physical element to it, I think the more that we can get, it's going to be great for the community of barbecue.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I wanted to touch base. I'm glad you brought that up about your kind of setup at the American Royal. I loved everything y'all did, and I think it was a fantastic concept, and it was different than majority of the different corporate sponsors of the American Royal, which is very, selective, which I get it. They use it as, they bring their big guys in or their employees in and throw a big party and whatnot. And there were some fantastic parties going on and stuff like that. But you guys really welcomed the public and really had you had some, you had Big Jake over there. You had Pastor, the Smoking Pastor. I mean, just fantastic heavy hitters. I forgot the gentleman's name who you had running the pizza oven.
Freddie.
Yeah, man. I mean, just making up some just stupid, delicious food over there. But I mean, everything you had, which is it was very welcoming and it was very open to the public, and how you guys handled yourselves and it wasn't so exclusive. You're more inclusive. I think that is what made you guys it was a big hit. I mean, I talked to a lot of the competition guys, and doing this, I know quite a few people in the barbecue community, and I heard nothing but good reviews from you guys yeah, in general. So kudos to you guys for kind of doing that and not being so seclusive. But going from that, yeah, but going from some of that, like I think one of the biggest things for you guys that was such a good hit is because your grill choices. You didn't have the typical offset smoker or something like that. There's nothing wrong with that, but you had the fire pit. The fire. I have one. I can't think of it.
The O-Fire?
Huh?
The O-Fire?
No, the O-Fire. I definitely love that one. No, it's a pizza oven.
Oh, the Alpha.
I have one, and I can't think of it. Yeah, the Alpha oven. You had the Alpha oven stove, which pizza ovens are just, they're fun to watch, and then you had what was the other one called?
The O-Fire.
Oh my God, dude! If you guys have not seen that, me and all our friends were looking those up. Like, I was drunkenly trying to thank God I checked my bank account the next day. I was like, did I order one of these? Because I may or may not have done that before. I'm like, oh God, but dude, that was I literally was, because it was cold. It was very cold that weekend, and it's like a hybrid. Kind of tell the people kind of like what your setup was and kind of who you had over there, and what the hell what would you call it? It's like a hybrid. It's like part fire pit, part cooker, actually.
Yeah. No, thank you. Yeah, one of the things we say all the time is we're grill gnostic. We don't care what kind of grill you cook on, including a propane or gas grill. There is a way to add wood fuels to that cooker and create some smoke, some flavor beyond just what you can get out of gas. So what we try to do anytime we go, whether we're at the American Royal or if we're at the ACE shows that we do twice a year, actually the February one's going to be in Louisville. So you guys might have to
check that out.
Spend some time with us. But we try to get as many different cookers out there as we can. So this year, we had, let me just think from memory, and I wish I could give everybody proper credit because we actually printed signs. You probably saw that, Logan. We printed signs for every single one of not only the ambassadors who was cooking with us or doing demos with us, but also for the different companies whose products we were using or who had lent us their products to use. So we had a Yoder pellet grill out there. We had my old backyard Jambo that I've had forever out there. We had the O-Fire, which is cool because it's on a stand. It's very like a teppanyaki or hibachi style, where you've got a really hot fire in the middle, and then it has this surface, and you can sear steaks or chickens or veggies or whatever on the surface, and it also throws off heat. So when it's cold outside, it's cooking and it's also keeping you warm, and it's just it's a cool thing where people can kind of gather around it. You always want those pieces, like if you're having a party at your house or at an event, like where people can congregate around fire. And then we had a Brio fire table, which is kind of a combination of a fire pit, but also we were cooking over it. I think we did some tomahawks on Saturday. If I remember out there, we had some pineapples and chickens kind of stuffed together that we were doing over that. We had the Alpha pizza oven there, which I cook on all the time. I love it. And Freddie from Boston was out there doing his thing. He went through like 160 pizzas.
Wow, they're so good.
Friday and Saturday.
That's Moore's Pizza. Oh,
we actually the next on, I think it was Saturday, Miss Tootsie came. I went and picked her up, and she came over and hung out with us for a while, and she ate some of Freddie's pizza, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, like, kill me now. This is not getting any better than this." And then on top of it, we'll always typically bring out a couple of smaller tabletop or like a Nomad. If you guys have ever seen that, it's kind of a briefcase style grill, and you can throw some lump or briquettes in there and some wood chunk or chip, and it's similar to like how I always use the PK because I was on the steak circuit for a while, and so love the PK. So we'll cook on that a lot. We have a few other ones too. We had that we've done in years past. The eggs or the Kamado style grills, always great to cook on. So that's one of the things is like we just try to get out there and like have as many different cookers going. That way, if somebody's walking by and they're like, "Hey, I have something that's kind of like that," they can walk over and they can see how we're using it. Or if they're like, "Hey, I've been interested, like these pizza ovens are cool," and then they can come over and talk to us or one of the ambassadors about what can you do on this thing, because I use it in all sort of different. In fact, like we're probably going to use that Christmas Eve this year to do the big steaks, and then we're also going to do some individual chicken breast, kind of airline chickens, if you will, to serve. And so we'll probably use the pizza oven for that, of all things. So yeah, we always love to do that and show people, hey, you can cook on whatever you have at home. There's a way to use wood products to make it better.
That's a good slogan right there. I like that.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Oh, so let's talk about you personally. Like you've cooked on a lot of grills. You've seen a lot of grills. You're familiar with a lot of grills. What is like, if I could give you a blank check and say, hey, buy 5 grills, what are you buying? And like one of them has to be purely for fun. Like, you know what I mean? It's got to be like a showstopper party.
Yeah. I would say I probably already have bought most of the grills that I want. To my wife's chagrin, we have grills and cookers all over this place. Probably like most of us out there. But what I don't have yet that I really, really want is like a good Santa Maria style grill. I actually don't have one yet.
So fun.
So that's
a fantastic one.
That's the fun one. Who makes a good one, you said?
M&M.
M&M, yeah. Well, I've been to their facility and seen it in person. I'm like, oh my gosh, I want this thing so bad. But I haven't.
Lone Star is a step down, but they're both equally awesome.
Yeah, so I definitely want that. That would be probably number one on the list. I would say, I'm a self-respecting Texan, as you guys know, and as every Texan will tell you they are. So I have to say an offset cooker, and I'm going to say a Jambo because I've had 3 Jambos in my life, and I love all of them. And I think Jamie Geer makes the best pit anybody's ever made. So Jambo's on the list, and I have an enclosed version here that I cook on just at home, and then we have that backyard version there. And then I used to have a J5, where it was actually an original Geer pit that I sold a couple years ago. So that'd be number 2. I would say the PK, number 3, and I've got the original one, but I think there's the 360 you can buy now.
Yeah, the 360 is the popular one, yeah.
Yeah, so I love the PK just because they're kind of indestructible, and it's the thing I use probably the most during like the summer and fall, like when we're just doing like a steak or a chicken or whatever. I use that a lot. And then the last 2, I'll say I've got to throw a pellet grill in there because we sell a lot of pellets, and it is nice. It's the easy button when you don't necessarily feel like cooking, or if it's windy or cold like it is here half the year, you can fire up the pellet grill. So I have a buddy who just bought a Lone Star. It's cool. I've always been partial to Rectech. I've had one of the older Rectechs for a long time, and they've performed really well for me. And so I'm going to say, find a pellet grill that you like and it's heavy duty. Yoder makes a good one too. But throw that in the mix. And then I guess what's the 5th thing?
You're only missing one more. It's
one
classic,
more.
But it's the classic one.
I know what you're.
Yeah, you're thinking of a Weber kettle, probably.
But which kettle?
Like 22-inch or
it's the American flag John Wayne 30-incher, man. That's the only correct answer.
It's the ranch, the Big Daddy.
Yeah,
he could have said that. I would have said like the new Outlaw can that came out, man. That thing's awesome with the foot pedal stool. Opens the can up. It's pretty dope. Or
one thing, and this is embarrassing to admit, but I have never until this year at the Royal never cooked on a can.
They're fun. Once you get on one, they're kind of fun. And there's such a wide range of them. I always made fun of them. When I first got competition cooking and I saw somebody cooking on a can, I'm like, look at this loser cooking on a trash can. And then freaking he kicked my ass. So, shame on me. But yeah, no, I'm like you. Like I'm obsessed with Santa Maria style, like live fire. Because I mean, if you're at a party and somebody has one of those on it, like especially like in a built-in kitchen, because I was gonna do that on my outdoor kitchen, like a Santa Maria style. I'm like, just how cool is that? Like, I want to be around that person. You know what I mean? Like, I'm around just looking at the fire, poking fire. But you want to talk about the most not ineffective, but just you're talking about you want to throw some wood on some fire, like which you should sponsor all.
Yeah.
Like, Derek's like, I think Santa Maria grills are the best grills there ever are. You should only own Santa Maria because you want to talk about burning through some product.
Yeah.
I'll need like a case. Like a pallet. I need you to send me a pallet of stuff before I can burn through because it's so ineffective when it comes to maintaining and like cooking.
I
But
love
it's just
that.
badass. Who cares? I love chucking wood on stuff. I don't care. I'm like, shit. Here we go. Just keep going.
Absolutely. You got to feed the fire, whatever it takes.
Absolutely. All right, man. Well, Derek, like I said, this is the time of show where I like to ask a couple of rapid fire questions. Nothing too serious. And just kind of off the top of your hat, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
All right, man. All right, you're a local Texan, so I have to hit my Texans up with this question. With your chili, does it need to have beans or no beans?
No beans.
So you like sloppy joes? Okay. That's a running joke on this pod. Texas chili is sloppy joes. It's no different. All right, man. If you're going out to a barbecue restaurant, what is one thing you always look for and one thing you couldn't care less about?
I don't care. I could care less about pulled pork. I never order pulled pork at a barbecue restaurant. And one thing I look for would be, let's be honest, I'm always ordering brisket and seeing how good the brisket is.
I got you. Outside of brisket, if you could do a competition and have a beef category, what category are you going to put in there? Like, what is your protein that you're putting in there? You got to exclude brisket.
Tri-tip.
Yes, thank you. That is the appropriate question. Or I'll also accept plate ribs or any
plate ribs. Yeah, God, I love beef plate ribs. Yeah.
I mean that stuff is candy on a stick.
Yeah,
and I'm all there for it. I'm all there for it. All right, man. All right, we just recently had Thanksgiving dinner. So, what is one thing that you have to have on the table, and what is one thing that you can always do without that you'll that may be unpopular?
Boy. All right. Have to have, I would say, mac and cheese, which is an unusual response, maybe.
Wait, box or homemade? Like are you doing the craft, like the crust and stuff? Or are you on? I met some people was like, I want craft or bust, baby.
No, we make legit mac and cheese with like dried breadcrumbs and the whole 9 yards. You know,
we're from Wisconsin. I mean, I guess you kind of have to.
And good cheeses, yeah, exactly.
And
then I would say can do without cranberry. I mean, even though I'm also from Wisconsin, and cranberry
what?
Well, we actually do two. We do the sauce and the slices.
Yeah, baby. From the can.
From the can. If it don't have lines, it don't count.
That's all right.
Ocean spray cranberry sauce. That's the one thing I will always have on my table. I always bring it with me. I have a can. I'm like, I got a can of cranberry sauce. Anybody want some? I ate a whole can of Thanksgiving, by the way. I'm just going to put that out there. I'm proud of it. A whole can.
Even though that's a good Wisconsin product, I normally don't eat a lot of that. So
lame. All right, man. I'm gonna put you on the spot. Lastly, well, actually, I got two questions for you. You're from the state of Wisconsin, so give me the best beer and what's the most overrated beer from the state of Wisconsin.
Gosh. This is going to get me in trouble. I think Spotted Cow is the most overrated beer from Wisconsin.
Wow.
I would say the best beer. I'm gonna go a throwback here. The little Shorty Miller High Lifes, because in Wisconsin, when you order a Bloody Mary, you get a beer with it, and it comes on the side, and they have these little shorties. So. Now, that's not necessarily my favorite, but I'm going to say the best because it's nostalgic and it's unique to the culture here.
Speaking of nostalgia, one beer I got in Wisconsin that you can't get anywhere else in the country is Schlitz. They still sell Schlitz. at Wisconsin. So if I know you're going somewhere, I may have you grab me a 6-6 or a Schlitz when you bring it with you, because I can't get that anywhere else in this country.
The only reason I know what Schlitz is because the scent of a woman. That's it.
You see the old alcoholic on the corner going, "Hey, you got some Slicks or hams? I got some ham."
Hams,
Yeah.
Land of sky blue waters. That's right.
That's right. All right, man. Last question. I see you're a fellow bourbon connoisseur, as of myself. Give me your favorite. If you say Pappy, I'll kick you off the show quick.
No.
What is your if you have a high dollar bourbon and a lower bourbon that hits above his pay grade, what's the most overrated bourbon you know? And don't say Pappy because we all know it's Pappy. And then what's one that hits above his pay grade?
All right, so most overrated. I was not preparing for this, but it's this guy right here.
Yeah, that's very true.
And by the way, I enjoy this. I drink it all the time, but I've been how much people obsess over getting a bottle of Blanton's.
The Horsies.
And the answer to this question is going to be what I'm drinking tonight on what I think hits above its pay grade. Now, it used to be a very low pay grade, like $34 a bottle, but the Eagle Rare. I love the Eagle Rare because I think it's very similar but better than the Blanton's, and it used to be half the price. Now they've both crept up, but this is still less expensive. So I really like the Eagle Rare.
Have you had the Eagle 12 yet?
I have had it one time, just a tasting of it, but
how does it compare with the 10?
I noticed a difference. I did notice a difference, but I didn't have them side by side. I like to try to do that when I can,
So I have had the ER17 and I've had the double Eagle, very rare. Yeah. Talking about overrated. That thing is, but I give it an A for presentation though. It is a very beautiful bottle to have. Very, very nice bottle, as it should be for what you pay for that thing. But no, man. Well, that's cool, man. Well, dude, Derek, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. Now's the time. So please let people know where they can find your products. I know we mentioned Ace Hardware, but kind of give people where, if they're not familiar with your brand or want to find your brand, where they can find you and all that jazz.
Yeah, man. Thank you. So yeah, I would say at retail, Ace Hardware, we're in 3,600 locations. So pretty much all of them around the country. Great. And you can just 2 points, kind of pro tips there. You can always buy through the app and ship to store for free and pick up. So even if your local store doesn't have us or doesn't have the species of the product you're looking for, go through the app or the website and do it that way. And then I would say any independent barbecue stores, we're trying to get into as many of those as we can. We're in a bunch of them, a couple hundred of them, but we'd like to get into more of those. So if you have a place that's in your neck of the woods that's a specialty barbecue or grill store and we're not in there yet, please either ask them or ask us. And they may not be on our radar yet because honestly, it's hard to track down all of those. And some of them pop up when we don't quite realize it, or sometimes they're like inside of another store that's like a liquor store, but it's also kind of a barbecue store,
like a Utah liquor store. It's behind the paywall. You got to do the Great Wizard of Oz screen to get the good stuff.
That's right. And then our website, smokywoodsbbq.com. We do some direct to consumer online sales there. We have hats, shirts, stuff like that. We also have a couple rubs and a sauce that I think are quite good because I came up.
You create them, right?
Them, yeah, exactly. But anyway, like that, and then like I mentioned, if you work with people who are in the food sourcing or purveying business, we're always happy to take introductions to those folks and or food distributors. We've had some conversations with some other ones, but that'd be another way. We're trying to get more into kind of the restaurant B2B side as well as we grow here. But we really appreciate opportunities like this, Logan and Matt, to just come on and talk about what we're doing and spread the good word.
Absolutely, man. Well, then, man, this has been fun, man. Like I said, I truly appreciate you coming on the show. I had a blast bothering you guys there at your stand. I hit you guys up probably one too many times, but you guys human being. I appreciate that. I'm pretty sure I ate at least 2 pounds of your steak you had. What's his name? Kept throwing stuff on the grill, and we kept picking it up. So I appreciate all the hospitality you guys had, and I appreciate what you do for the barbecue community. And I highly recommend everybody, if you don't use or have used their products, definitely check them out. Like I said, American made, first class products. I'm definitely a huge fan of them myself. So like I said, we appreciate what you do and what you do for the community.
Absolutely. Thank you,
guys,
man.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. I definitely will be in touch.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Appreciate it, Derek.
Yeah. All right, buddy, man. Well, that's our show. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, buddy. Guys, I hope you had a good time. That was a Wood 101 with a fantastic company and a fantastic guy. So, as always, when it comes to barbecue, make sure you're always right on cue. See you guys.
That's all, folks.